We're live. Hello and welcome to Free the Mind UK, a chat with a therapist. My name is Dave Carson. I'm your host for this evening. Got a fantastic guest on tonight in the way of Jacquelyn Haley. But before I bring Jacquelyn on, I'm going to play the intro video. Come on then.
Not sure what therapy to choose? Free the Mind UK presents A Chat with a Therapist. Join us live for an up-close informal discussion of the various holistic therapies available, helping you make that important choice.
Well, I'm very excited to have our guest on tonight in the way of Jacquelyn Haley. Jacquelyn works with an array of change work modalities, including reflexology, hypnotherapy, NLP coaching, EMDR, all pain to go, integral eye movement. In fact, the list just goes on and on and on. I don't know if she has the time to learn all these things, but there you go. So Jacquelyn's going to be talking about her creation, Hypno-flex, amongst other things this evening. So without further ado, let's bring on Jacquelyn.
That's a lovely intro. Thank you so much.
Hey, no, it's a pleasure. It's good to have you on. Good to have you on with that lovely Welsh accent. Love it.
I'll do my best to slow tonight and speak
slowly. Well, I'm sure we're going to have a few people watching tonight, Jacquelyn. So we will be asking them later to, put some questions in for us, because it's always good when we get questions off the viewers. So I always ask our guests, do you like to be, obviously Jacquelyn, I was going to say, because being a Liverpudlian, we like to shorten the names down, but I won't do it tonight. It will be Jacquelyn. If someone calls me David, it's like my mum's talking to me.
Yeah, but anyway, naughty, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So it's customary to ask our guests, how they basically got to the point of where they are today and how they got into this sort of work. So if you want to give us a short overview of that, would be amazing for the viewers.
Okay. Well, sadly, a family member, my immediate family, got diagnosed with bowel cancer when they were 35 years of age.
Wow.
And I'd been working overseas. My career prior to that was in travel, and I'd come home to start a family. I thought, I can't go back overseas now, knowing that my family is going to need us all around them. Mm-hmm. So I went and studied hypnotherapy, because the people I studied with were actually working in cancer hospices at the time. So I wanted to particularly chooses these people, plus they were on my doorstep. I had 2 babies, so it was just perfect for me. So I trained in hypnotherapy, but then knowing I wanted to take my business goal further, I had to get a degree in complementary health as well, to kind of be more recognized with doctors and with medics, which is what I wanted. Right. So I went on to study a degree which was based in cancer with complementary health. So that's why really I got into it. So yes.
Wow, my goodness, that's it. Very interesting. I didn't realize that. I would have mentioned it.
Oh, it's okay. I didn't tell you, so it's okay.
Yeah, no. So you started off with hypnotherapy, and what was obviously, you went on to other healing modalities. So what sort of come after that? What interested you from hypnotherapy?
Well, I mainly wanted to work with doctors. So my business goal was to get into doctor surgeries and work there and taking the hypnotherapy in, because it is very clinical. And when we trace hypnotherapy right back, it was in medical journals over 100 years ago.
Of course.
It just was lost along the way when Sigmund Freud stuck his big beak in, So, so I know we can perhaps thank John Watkins et al. For bringing it all back to life, maybe in the 40s, Milton Erickson and the rest, as we know, is history. So it's very much as its clinical uses. But the reason I wanted to do my degree is because to work with doctors, I was advised by a business coach to get a kind of more formal qualification, because a lot of the study we did, as you know, was very private.
Yeah.
And personally, I feel the private study is a lot more in depth, because these people are not just working, teaching it, they're actually in industry as well. The deal with clients. So you're getting a great trainer, plus you're also getting somebody who's hands-on in the moment, which I think is so important when you are studying. So I went to university. I studied in University of Glamorgan. I graduated in 2011, and the same year I opened my business, Wellbeing Centre. Started having cancer days where people could come in and have free treatments. And that's really how it went, So
Oh wow! So the cancer treatments, what did that entail then? What?
I was really lucky to have. I started representing the Federation of Holistic Therapists in Swansea, so I had a variety of therapists around me, and I used to always be into my fitness. So I used to teach Zumba classes in the evenings, and the money I had, I could run a free kind of service on that day. They'd have reflexology, Reiki, and hypnotherapy as the three kind of main therapies that we used to offer to people, not just to the people who had cancer, but to their family.
Yeah,
as well.
absolutely. Quite important.
It does affect, and if anyone watching this has been in the position where you've had cancer or you've had cancer in your family, you will know exactly what I'm coming from. It can either pull a family in or it can tear them apart, and it's so important that support network is in place for them, you know.
No, absolutely. It sounds fantastic. And how long did you do that for? You still currently involved in that now, or?
Not so much the cancer, because Dave, what I realised in therapies in general, I mean, my business went from a small centre to a larger centre, and sadly in 2016 my dad passed away. So in 2017 I made the decision to walk away from the business and run as I'm here, where I'm here now. This is my therapy in my home. I work from home now and online, because the pressure with the business, it was too much. So I did step away. I do work with a charity at the moment, but in another field. But what I come to realise, Dave, and you will know this as well, when we look at illnesses and no matter what degree they go to, we know they all start in the mind. This is what I've been shown to be true, and this is what my personal experiences are as well. And I realised, Dave, that it's not just about the illness, it's where did it come from. And to me now, everything's trauma-based. If you've got a weight problem, smoking problem, a gambling problem, a fertility, everything which can't be explained by medics, we've got to look at the trapped emotions and that unresolved trauma that resides within everybody. We've all got it, you know. And I think if we go back to the 70s, when post-traumatic stress disorder was really, really looked at, you know, it was only looking at veterans back then. It wasn't really looking at the Joe Blogs, like the normal people. You can call me normal, not the normal people, you know. It was like everybody, everything that's not been resolved. And trauma is something that happens to a person in that state of vulnerable helplessness, you know, when you've not got someone to help you. So, and I think so I like to go now right into the trauma first before it escalates, you know. And that's where I'm at right now, you know. So
I'm guessing with your your NLP coaching, obviously, you know, help them move forward, as you know, as well as helping them with the past anxieties and traumas and whatever. So do you obviously coach them going forward as well to sort of rebuild themselves?
The word coaching, oddly enough, last week I study for fun. Now you said, have you got all these qualifications? I do it for fun. Now, the last weeks I've qualified, I've redone my emotional intelligence and EQ coaching, and I did something called happiness coaching.
All right.
Which was really good. I really enjoyed it. And like I said, I do these things for fun. It's like people read a book, I like to do little courses, you know.
Yeah.
And it was only when I was realizing, going through the coaching process, that I thought, oh, this is very well and good. Coaching to lead a better lifestyle is fantastic. Maintaining those habit changes has to come from deeper within.
Absolutely.
So it is all fabulous. It's all great. It looks great in paper. It sounds amazing. But if you're going to build a house, you're not going to build it on the sand. You build it on the rocks.
Absolutely.
Right. So for me, the trauma stuff that we do, Dave, has to be where we go first. Once that's been released, we can then start building new habits that are sustainable. Yeah. Which are, what's the word I'm looking for, is I can't think off the top of my head. They're sustainable, but they're like the SMART goals, you know, you can achieve them.
Yes.
And they can fit in quite easily into your life without you waking up in the morning thinking, oh God, I got to go for a 10-mile jog, and then I've got to do this. It's got to be a suitable lifestyle, isn't it? You know? So yeah, it's got to be realistic. Maybe we get there in the end. So realistic, yeah. So yeah.
I love it. I love it. Oh my God. So do you want to talk about your reflexology? Because
I do. And the reason I got into reflexology, bear in mind, I needed this degree to go forward to work with people in cancer, but I didn't like people's feet. Okay. And if my teacher gets to watch this, she will agree with this. We didn't like each other either. We didn't like each other. And so I was like, so what, you rub someone's feet and it's meant to make you well? Oh, don't be so ridiculous. How can that be? Do you know? So I set out to prove her wrong, that it wouldn't work. And my cousin got very, very ill with something called Guillain-Barré syndrome. And my teacher, who's also called Jackie, is kind of an expert in that area. So going up to the hospital, I go up every night for 2 weeks to treat her for just 20 minutes and do what we call an emergency treatment, an SOS treatment. And I swear to God, Dave, it's like a miracle. She would stand up and she would shake as she was walking, and it was just heartbreaking to see. And then she walked out of that hospital 2 weeks later, baffled the doctors completely, baffled me.
Wow.
I had to wait and humble pie to my teacher, who then tells me the reason she's in this is because of her ex-husband sadly passed away from cancer at a very young age. And then I could tell her about my sister. She didn't know about my personal journey, I didn't know about hers, and she's now one of my best friends this day. She's one of my best friends. I love her. She's an amazing lady, and I was very lucky to have her for 3 years as my tutor. You know, so reflexology was something that stubborn part of me wanted to prove it wrong. You know, and I mean, Dave, I took 25 women for 3 months, and I worked solely with them. Poo-pooed the 6-week theory, as you probably will in therapy. And what I realized through reflexology is that between session 4 and 5, they were having that cathartic release. And things were coming out. And I thought, thank goodness I've got my background in counselling and my background in hypnosis.
Absolutely.
Deal with it. And I thought, well, hang on a minute, how come this? So I got in touch with a lady in Ireland who, she's a psychologist. She only treats the feet. And she is saying in her practice, she only treats with reflexology for trauma. So that's what really got me into it. And you know, the funny thing about this, Dave, is I read the question wrong. I was doing a project for my independent research, and I was meant to do secondary research only. And I thought it meant primary. So the only reason I set it up was for that reason.
Wow.
So yeah, and but so glad I made that mistake, because it taught me so much. And when I wrote all my case studies up, my tutor Jack did say, should you know, people sadly they do make up the case studies, and you said I knew with you everything was spot on, because you made the mistakes that you make when you are doing it. And towards the end of my time in university, I actually got 100% in my reflexology exam, and I 2 of us did that, not just me, and it's kind of never been heard of. So I had this massive passion for it. Now you're going to ask me now, so how did that bring hypnotherapy into it?
Yeah, absolutely. Mind reader.
So yeah, it was during my time working in it, because whilst I was in university, I used to run a hypnotherapy clinic 1 day a week. And what I found, Dave, and you would agree here, is the resistance people have in hypnosis. Yeah, it was back in 2010. I was quite slim in those days, so I was doing a lot of weight loss. And what I realized, the women were very resistant to going into hypnosis. Again, this is what I've been shown personally, and what I've seen professionally. I've done training in obesity and psychology. That a lot of women who have weight issues, it can be linked very much to a traumatic past, whether sexually, emotionally, and physically. As again, any therapist will see that to be true too.
Absolutely.
And what I realized through my time was, I can no wonder they are quite apprehensive about hypnosis if that's the underlying issue. So that's when I decided to relax them with a little foot rub. So first, because when you do reflexology, anybody who's had reflexology with me, and I've treated so many feet over the years, will say it is like going into a dream state where they feel they're not awake, they're not sleeping, but they're in this beautiful space of relaxation. Like, oh my God, that's just like hypnosis. Let's treat the feet, and let's give these women a beautiful treat as well, because it is such a lovely treat. It's very energetically clearing. So by the time it come for me to do my hypnosis, they're already in a lovely state. We built up that trust. And when you work with the feet represent the subconscious mind. So you've already got that to trust you, because your feet are letting you in. I know it sounds a bit weird, but it's almost like you greet the feet first, and that's how you kind of, so that's how I did it. And I just found that it was just having amazing effects, especially then the trust was building up. You know, it was I understood them. I understood, what it was like to be resistant in hypnosis. So it was just beautiful, really. So there we are. Hypno-flex was born.
Wow.
So,
that's fascinating. I've always been interested in reflexology. I may even do it one day. Does it take quite a long time to study in that? Is there like a number of years? Or?
I did it for 3 years as part of a program, part of a degree I was doing. But I'm literally, I've only just secured the contracts yesterday. I'm going to be working with a lady in South Wales, where I will be teaching in my area, reflexology. So the courses will be shorter, but it will be interactive. It will be online, doing a lot of it online with anatomy, physiology, and then doing the classroom work with myself. So it will be a shorter route than going to the colleges, but you can go to your local colleges and learn it in a year at level 3.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. So level 3, I think you need to do 100 hours of case studies outside, plus the hours that you do in college as well.
I just thought I'd better put your website up there, Jacquelyn.
Wow, it looks very glamorous there, doesn't it?
Because I have been on your website, obviously, and you've got all the things you offer there. So people can go on there and have a look, can't they?
Yeah.
Are you going to be offering the course you're going to be doing on there?
Yeah, what's going to happen with that? We were hoping to have some dates in the diary for this show. However, Michelle, the lady I'm going to be working with, she's been on holidays. She's been away to Spain. She came back yesterday, and it was all like, so we're both so busy. It was just trying to get some time together. She lives in Cardiff. I'm down in Swansea. We're only literally an hour away, but you think we can find an hour to kind of get to each other. So yeah, but what I'm hoping to do, Dave, is I don't want to be teaching big classes. My classes will be groups of 4, no more, because I want to give that real personalized touch to it.
Your passion comes across with this as well, and if I'm personally being trained by somebody, I like them to be passionate about it, it's not just
you do, and it is about, and I'm up in the memory here, because when I used to train in uni, when say our tutor was assessing someone, me and my friend, the other lady that got 100% in her exams, we would sit there with our eyes closed, imagining a foot in front of us, visualizing a foot, and we'd be like that in the air, just over and over, practice. So we knew it was the back of our hands, So now I run a reflexology clinic on a Thursday. I work with, I like to call them people from war-torn countries. I don't like referring to people as refugees. People from war-torn countries. And I go into this beautiful zone, and they do as well. And I'm kind of, it is really lovely. Exactly. But do you know what I will say to you, Dave, if you are thinking of training, and to anyone who's thinking of training this, with hypnosis and the IEMT that you do, I do EMDR, it is very much a cure. We work into the trauma, we are removing. It does, I know we shouldn't say that, but let's just say they're very solid therapies, and we get great results for them.
Yeah.
What I find with reflexology, the same people will come back to you year on year, month on month. It's a repetitive, so not only are you enjoying those long...
Yeah, it's almost like having a massage, I guess.
Yeah,
is that...
Yeah. So, I mean, they come back to you. Goodness, I've got clients going back. I started out in 2008. So I've still got the same clients coming back to me.
Do you get a lot of men doing reflexology? I know, because it's therapy is like populated a lot by ladies, Every time I do courses, I'm outnumbered. There's not many guys on them. Is it a lot of guys involved in reflexology? There's
only one person I know in my area, a male reflexologist. Actually, one of my tutors at the college, he just teaches though. But there's only one male I can think of off the top of my head that does it. Actually, now you come to think of it. Yeah.
Interesting.
And I do get men. My biggest fan in reflexology is actually my brother. If his mates, if I said to him, Rich, come up for a reflexology treatment, or he's got a chance to go down the pub with his mates, he will come here for a reflexology treatment. He just absolutely adores it. He's my kind of biggest fan, really. He tells everybody about it. So, but
good advertising, Jacquelyn. Good advertising. So going into the sort of mechanics of the Hypno-flex itself. So how would the session start? Do you start on the feet? And then, start working because I don't know a lot about reflexology. I know a lot of the organs are on the bottom of the feet, and it affects them. So where does the hypnosis come into it exactly?
It would be at the end, and interesting about the organs on the feet. They say there's another, like I said, I've done so much study over the years. Polarity. They say if you broke the body down into 1 million pieces, you would find the whole in one piece. So you find the hole on the foot. So you've got hand reflexology, ear reflexology, facial reflexology, So basically it would be like a hypnotherapy session. A full in-depth consultation would take place. Then you would start treating the feet. And I only use 30 minutes. Now, normally I would work using one foot and then one foot, but I work the feet together on this occasion. Okay, so it's lovely and relaxing. Okay. whilst they're in that relaxed state, I've always got a chair next to my couch. I don't know if you can see my couch, actually. It's behind me there. You can see in the pink there set up.
Oh, yeah.
So, and then I go and sit by the side and just do the hypnosis just as I would if I was just doing hypnotherapy.
Okay.
Just the same way there. So, yeah.
So I'm trying to get my head around the manipulation of the feet. Yeah. And this can obviously help with releasing traumas, as well as I think I need you to go into a bit more detail for me.
You need more detail, right? Okay, when we do reflexology,
Yeah,
we are working on the energy system of the body. Okay,
right.
so on the bottom, as you say, on the bottom of the foot, we can find all the organs which make up the systems. Yeah. And it works very much mentally, physically, and spiritually.
Okay.
So when you're working on the systems of the feet, it's also energetically cleansing. Now, because I've trained in Chinese reflexology as well, you move, like if I can hold my hand up the screen and pretend that's my foot, I will first start off by clearing these what we call zone energy lines. Now, these zones were discovered by who was a consultant, William Fitzgerald, back in 1980 in America. And he used to anesthetize his patients by doing this in the bottom of the feet.
Wow.
Yeah, so you just walk up, but that's clearing the energies. We've got ether, the air energy, fire, water, and earth. Okay, so I start by holding on to the toes and seeing what their energy is. That will give me an idea of what each energy is doing, and each energy represents something.
Can you actually feel if the energy is off with the manipulation?
Yeah, because what it does to me, and sometimes I giggle with them. I say, watch me, and I'll be being pushed back. If that tells me they're grounded, they're really grounded. I could be doing this on the air, on the ether, because that tells me they're like, woo, energy is like, they really need to have some calmness.
That's what mine's like all the time, Jacquelyn.
Yeah. So when we work with the fire energy, if someone's got a lot of rage in them, this is just my interpretations now, okay? There's a rage or of energy, that will be really off, you know. If I work with water energy, think about water. If I was to leave the water in my sink for a few days, it would get stagnant.
Of course.
It doesn't move. We are very similar. So you feel if the water was stagnant, so we're trying to get some movement, you know, resistant to change. Then we have the earth energy, which is quite like the air, the ground within us. So that gives me an idea. They can tell me that they feel okay, but the feet will tell me exactly what's really going on. Yeah.
Sorry, go on. No, when you're you're basically tuning into it. So it's a bit like when you do Reiki, for instance. I'm not trying to, I'm trying to fully understand it. You'll pick up particular energies from the feet, in a sense.
Yeah, goodness, yeah. Do you know what, Dave? So, thank you for these questions, because I've done it for so long. I've become so au fait with it that I just do it second nature, thinking, yes, you do. You can feel it. And I don't know how many other therapists watching this are quite intuitive. You'll even get the images in your mind of what's happening as well. There's been times I work with people, particularly of their heart area of their feet, where I've got a flash of their emotions. It's quite powerful to feel as well. And you become very in tune with the person that you're working with. And when you're working with a person, you know if there's that trust there, because your feet do let you in and do more deeper work with them. Does that make sense?
No, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, when you were talking about it, it reminded me of working with like the healing energies, you know, when you were talking about it, because I have a similar thing when I'm working with someone. You just intuitively get a feeling, don't you?
Yeah. I mean, I was trained very clinically to keep it out away from that. When you obviously go off on working on your own, you will very much find your own way of working. It's like learning to drive. We learn our own way, don't we? And that is where it took me. It took me to the very spiritual route, to be honest with, because of these feelings and things I was seeing. So I had to go and seek guidance there. So it is when you start working with people that closely, because they are sharing their utmost vulnerabilities with you.
Absolutely. Do you find other people that do reflexology have a similar experience to you?
Yeah. I'm lucky. We've got some excellent reflexologists in Swansea, and very similar. Yeah, they all get not at first. It's something that you go into. It's like when you do Reiki, you don't have first, and then suddenly these things open up to you. I've got a friend actually up in London, and I send them a lot of Reiki, and even now it's like that. In tune is instant. I see and I feel, and it's just incredible the connection you get with some people. Not everyone, but some people you do, you know. So
it's interesting, because I don't really use my Reiki a lot. I mean, I've done all the 3 different levels and all that, and I did it in like 93, but I've used it, but it's not my main thing, you know. And I had a client earlier on, she had a headache, so I said, "Oh, I'll give you a bit of healing," and I managed to. Well, she said it went away, so that was great. And I love it actually when you're doing stuff like that, because I could see like bits of smoke coming out of her head.
Wow. It's hard to explain, isn't it?
It's very hard to explain.
Yeah. Especially if you're sitting in the pub with the lads and you say, "What did you do today for the day?" "Oh, I just smoked this migrant up this woman's head, you know."
What have you been smoking there thinking? Absolutely.
Exactly. So it is,
But,
you know,
but
it is.
I think it's important as well, like you said, you know, you were very clinically trained, and I think sometimes, you know, they miss a trick where, you know, like things are done in a particular way, you know, and like you say, when you go away from that and you find your own way and you find these other elements coming into it, which completes it all for you in a sense. Do you know what I mean? I think we might have a comment. My Liverpool accent coming out there. Let's have a look. Oh, look, we've got Zila. I think it's Zila. Zelda. Hi, Zelda.
Hello, Zelda.
Message. You know, Zelda. My reflexologist says, well, I'm glad to hear it, Zelda. Very glad to hear it. Because, yeah. It's funny, you know. I do a lot of these mind, body, spirit fairs, Jacquelyn, and I was doing Reiki there, but I wasn't very busy because everyone seemed to be going to the ladies for the Reiki. Yeah, I found it interesting. I mean, it could have just been because they just, you know, didn't connect with me, but it seemed to, you know, that was what I felt, you know, so I'm more inclined to go to the ladies' energy, if you see what I mean.
Yeah. I think when I used to do fairs, reflexology is really popular, really popular in fairs. It tends to be booked right away, you know. I don't do them anymore because of the amount of equipment you have to take. You have to take about 5,000 towels with you, and then you're there. It is much easier to do Reiki at a fair. Much easier to do energy because you don't need any. You need your hands and a bit of wash.
Well, funny enough, there was a lady next to me that was doing reflexology, and I noticed a massage in the face, and I actually didn't realize that was part of it, like you mentioned earlier on, massaging the
facial reflexology. I don't tend to do that. I trained. It was Mama therapy is what we did on our course. Mama therapy. So you are working with reflex points in the face, and it's more kind of Ayurvedic than the Chinese. But you know, they do. One of my clients today was an acupuncturist, and we were saying about how the lines do cross with the Ayurveda and Chinese medicine. And I think the Ayurvedics tend to bring in Chinese medicine into it. But again, it's all looking at the acupressure energy points on the face and releasing them. And in my experience of doing with that as well, I remember working with a lady, you know, phoning me 3 days later saying, "What the heck have you done to me?" And I was like, "Why? I haven't stopped crying for 3 days." I said, "Well, there's your system having a cleanse." And the way I like to refer, like I explain to my clients, it's like a bit like my shoe cupboard under the stairs. Every so often I got to put it out, look at it, thinking, "Oh, it's a big mess. What do I do with this?" You know, right? I don't want that, like that. I want you. I'll put that back and chuck that. That process, and when you decide what to throw and keep, is very messy. And that's what we like when we go on our healing journey. And that's why I found the combination with reflexology and hypnotherapy to be so powerful, because you're getting that cleanse, that energetic cleanse, that detoxification, plus you get into that space of relaxation without thinking, "Oh my God, what is she going to do with me now?" You know, and the biggest question is, I don't know why they ask this question, are you going to make me act like a chicken? And it's
which is why I like the fact that you start with the feet, because you create that closeness, that trust. But when someone's, you know, got hold of your feet, it's a very delicate area for a lot of people, isn't it? You know,
it is. A lot of people, again, if we go back to where we know the clinical uses back to William Fitzgerald, I mean, he with a nurse called Doreen, an Irish nurse who worked with Doreen Bailey, who then passed the works onto a lady called Eunice Hingham. So he'd come into the UK in the 60s. And that's where we got it from. And when you go back and read her work, she used it very clinically. Very, very clinically. And then she produced a book called Stories of the Feet Have Told, and Stories the Feet Can Tell. Then we went into foot reading with it, which is something I don't tend to do a lot of. I have trained in it, but something I don't tend to use. But and again, she will say, if your reflexologist tells you this is not going to hurt, change your reflexologist, because it does. So when we get that congestion in our body, particularly when we working down the spinal area, which tends to be the inside of the feet for the big toe down. That's, you can't see my hand, can you? I'm going that way.
That's it. I see it. So that's perfect though.
Yeah, down that way. Then of course it's your spinal area, you know. So you are releasing, because the body's fed through the nervous system, which comes in the spine. So you have so naturally that's going to ache and hurt, because it's the bit that works most for us. So once we get that all cleared, and then they're in that lovely, like, as they say, floating on clouds, a lot of my clients say, then they've got that thing to put those, you know, when I say Hypno-flex, I will use EMDR prior to remove any the main trauma they've come with. And to go into it that way. Depends on what I'm doing, you know.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that the actual, I know it's a bit, but like the actual ratio of reflexology, EMDR or hypnotherapy, is it a bit more reflexology and a little bit?
It really does depend. Like this week, it's been, I think, of the 2 hypnotherapy clients, and the rest have all been reflexology this week. And next week is completely different again. So I've got more hypnosis in next week. Do you know? Combining them regularly is something I haven't done for a while, combining them. But when I do this new training, this is when we're going to start opening up a lot more, because I think for hypnotherapists, and we were having this discussion in one of our groups a few weeks ago, hypnosis is something that we tend to treat and they move on. Reflexology is something that people come back time and time for, and they enjoy it. They just enjoy having that pamper and that detox, you know.
Yeah, that's the beautiful thing about it. We've got another question, Jacquelyn, from Kerry. Hi, Kerry.
Hi, Kerry.
Hey. Hi, Dave and Jack. Jack has done some amazing energy work with me. She gave me a distant massage. How do you do that, Jackie? And I could feel all the different places. Wow, that's amazing, isn't it?
First of all, Kerry's my hypnotherapist, by the way. She sorts my noggin out when I need it, but you know, oddly enough, it was Christmas time, and Kerry put a post on Facebook saying, Jackie, not to anyone, can someone send me Reiki? And I was like, haha, inbox me. Because years before, I don't know if you've heard of Wendy Webber. Have you heard of Wendy Webber on the circuit? Oh, you need this woman on your show. She's incredible.
What's it? Wendy Webber?
Wendy Webber. Oh, to me, she's the queen. She's the true world queen. Her and barrel of hypnosis. I was out in my garden. It was during lockdown, the first phase of lockdown. And she said something, but her shoulder went. I said, Wendy, where are you? Stay there. I'm going to try something. So I did tried a neck, all the pain was in her neck. We were like, well, this is quite good, isn't it? Then I have another friend who lives in Ireland, and I said, I'm going to do your remote reflexology. So as you said, distant Reiki, Dave, you would imagine it being sent. Yeah. So anyway, Christmas time with Carrie, incredible. I'm like, where's your pains in your lower back? She went, oh, Jack, it's up on the side, you know, under the shoulder blade. I went, no, it's definitely on your lower back. This is what I'm seeing. Stay there. So in my mind now. I'm a trained sports masseuse and all that as well. Right? So in my mind, right? So we forgot about it. That I did it. And so a few weeks later, I said, hey, what happened with that back after? She went, oh my God, she said, just disappeared. She said, you were right. It was in my lower back as well. I said, oh, we need to do something about this. Wow. But can you imagine saying to someone, though, like live 500 miles away, oh, just lay there, I'll give you a massage. It's
That's crazy. Honestly, obviously, I've heard of distant healing with healing modalities and stuff, but not actual like distant reflexology. Is that there might be a new thing, Jacquelyn?
It's great, but do you know what? There's another guy that you might have seen, Andy Steele, on the circuit.
Oh yeah,
Andy, right? It was a few years ago, and I keep moving off camera. I do apologize. It was a few years ago, and I had dealt with a particularly tough case I'd been working with, and Andy always kind of knows when I'm not right, you know, and he said, you're right, mate. I said, well, not really. No, he said, stay there. And he did EFT remotely on me.
Oh, yeah.
Straight away, he picked up a trapped trauma. It was in my shoulder. He knew straight away it was cleared. Wow. And that night, through dream, I had some amazing insights about the person I'd been working with, and all of it was all true. Yeah, so it was all really incredible, isn't it? Wow. So it just goes to show, Dave, who knows what the mind is capable of. And again, you asked me a question, you know, why I put this together. I was in a health show. It might have been around 2010. And I was standing there in my stall and my certificates, you know, as you do when you first start out. Yeah. And this guy came up to me and said, you're a charlatan. I went, pardon? Yeah, I'm a charlatan. I said, why is that? He said, because, wow, well, he'll give me all his reasons. Tell me, I said, do you like cars? He said, yeah, I do. I said, what's your favourite car? He said, a Porsche. I said, brilliant, great choice. So if you had a Porsche, I said, would you keep it in your garage and not test that it can do 0 to so many seconds, the speed wise? Would you just leave it there and think it was a pile of crap? He went, no, I wouldn't. Of course I'd drive it. I went, okay. Our minds are the same, our minds are very similar. You've got this wonderful tool here. It's incredible. And my brain, and where our mind is, I don't know, because if you ask the surgeon to open up our body, they wouldn't know where the mind was, But we've got this incredible, the most incredible computer known to mankind, and people won't trust in it and believe in it.
Yeah.
And it's like,
absolutely. A lot of people, they don't realize. I always say to people, if you could see what happens in your body when you just move your arm like that, it's just incredible. Do you know what I mean? I'll tell you one technique I quite like is Bob's technique, the swan. I don't know if you tried that.
Oh, it's my fave. I've only got to do that now, and it moves on its. I don't have to ask it.
I can't do a self swan. It won't work for me.
Can you not?
I mean, I feel it. I do feel it, but it doesn't ever seem to.
Do you know what we do, Kerry? This has been on now. Kerry, I will get my swan set up, and Kerry will ask it questions. It'll move. I'll look away, and it moves for her. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I know that all my parts are listening to me anyway. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, very useful tool. Very useful tool. I've been using it a lot lately, actually, practicing with it at the Mind Body.
I think when you start working with, I used it with a lady once who was a trained medium, and she really didn't like it at all. And when I first kind of studied it, I was sitting with my sister, and we didn't, as we were speaking earlier, with our pendulums, again, all energy work. So the same question, she was testing to the pendulum, and I was doing it through the swan, and we was having exactly the same. But when you go to do the voice,
do you know what? I haven't tried the voice yet. It's really weird. There's a reason why I haven't, because there's a part of me thinking that can't be possible. I've seen it done loads of times. But I am gonna. I was thinking about that today because I've got one of these fairs on Sunday. So I invite people over, and I go, "Hey, would you like to try? Would you like to try something? It's really exciting. It's really cool. It might not work. It might work. You might feel something, other stuff."
Yeah.
And people are astounded, absolutely astounded. And when their hand starts moving like this, and they're like, "I ain't doing this," So I think I'm going to have a go at the Swan Speaks, get the old voice out there.
Do it. When I did it, it's almost like I could feel it come in. It didn't quite come, but I could feel it building up. And I remember thinking, wow, now I know, I can see it works. It's a time for another day, but which I haven't gone back and tried it. That was quite a few years ago now. But I find, is my camera going out of focus? Sorry, dear. I find that if I've got a decision to make, I will sit here quietly. I'm at my desk now where I work. I do sit there quietly in my hands, and I do let it,
Yeah, so you can obviously self-swan then. It moves
all the time. I use it.
That's a real bonus, Jacquelyn. Do you find that quite helpful then, obviously?
For me personally, I also use myself as a human pendulum as well if I'm making decisions. Which is quite a good one. Yeah, it's. I get for hours, couldn't we?
Because I use shivers, because when I had my first Reiki 1, like 92, I think it was, a long time ago. And it completely changed my life, to be honest. Bit of a cliche, but some things do that to you, don't they? Anyway, it was definitely that. And I kept getting these crazy, when someone walks over your grave, they're saying, these like energy shivers shooting down my body, like ricocheting across my neck, going boom, 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 boom. And as it was coming, it's like, whoa. And I was like, oh my God, I'd be in Tesco's, shopping, I'd be shaking like that. They thought there was something wrong with me. But I still have them to this day, but they've changed a lot now. I get this quite strong ricochet through the neck, which isn't not horrible. It's quite nice. It goes boom, 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 boom. And then I can't describe it. It's just unworldly. I get this most incredible, beautiful, it's like a beautiful rainfall just gliding down my body. And it's like, oh my God, thank you, universe. I don't know how many other people get that. I'm sure there's millions.
I say, Dave, to people, it's like falling in love, isn't it? Do you know?
It is.
You there's a local lad by me that put up yesterday about he's coming to the end of his spiritual healing course, and this guy's a proper man's man, proper lad. I was like, bloody hell, Danny. Sorry. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy for you. And it was like 11. I put 11 and he was laughing because he's a proper like bands man as well, but But he had his own experience where he went into it, and he's just absolutely loving what he's doing. And but he said very similar. It's like the feel is nice. It's like falling in love, isn't it? Not that I've fallen in love for a long time, but but what I'm saying is, it is like
falling in love with yourself, Jacquelyn.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Funny thing, I went to watch Puss in Boots 2 last night, and he was saying about how he loves himself too much, and I'm like that. Okay, no, but yeah. But no, it is like the first team I ever had in Reiki. The first Reiki therapy I had was in the 90s. I broke my elbow in a car crash, and this lady local to me was giving me Reiki because the doctor said, that's it, it'll never straighten ever again. So that's what I went to Reiki, and I went swimming, and I found, well, I can use my arm now. I was told I'd never use it. It was when I was working overseas. I used to work overseas for a large tour operator, and this lady came up to me, she said, you could do with having some Reiki. And she was one of my customers. So I did end up having a Reiki session with her, and that would have been in the late 90s. Yeah. And I went back into what I would understand I was a past life. And it was just such a weird, it's like a film going off in your head, isn't it? And I thought, when I go back to the UK to live, this is something I will definitely start looking into, because it is just magical, isn't it? It's really magical.
It really is. I mean, in the 90s, there used to be a magazine called The Kindred Spirit. I don't know if you ever remember that.
Yeah.
I always remember the last 6 pages were just full of adverts. Yeah. And it'd have like vortex healing, all sorts of types of healers.
Yeah.
And, it's sort of, I don't know. I was a little bit sad, really, because I felt like even then it was becoming very commercialized and stuff, Well, that's individual thinking about it. But
I think, that's a really good point, because when I was doing, again, because my sister had cancer, I was looking under every stone, religion, healer modality that I could find,
Mm-hmm.
And I found something called the Monarchy Rites by a guy called Alberto Vadolo, who charges like a lot of money for it. And I found this woman down in West Wales, and when I met her, there were lots of syncs and coincidences leading up to me meeting this lady.
Mm-hmm.
And when I did that opened the door into something brand new, honestly. And I then went on and trained with she's a doctor. She teaches in the university in the postgrad. She used to go off to the reservations and learn from the elders. The permission's got to be verbal to pass on. The teaching is done from mouth to mouth. You can't write it down. And I remember that opened up to a whole new concept again. And just incredible the way that we learn. And when we trace back, if we actually do look back through the years of hypnosis, we can perhaps trace it back to those shamanic times when they put people into trance by beating the drum, playing music, dancing, storytelling, when we go back to it. And it was during that time of study that I had the most incredible insights. And I thought, oh, hang on one moment. I thought, am I the crazy, or there is other realms out there? And that's,
I was in Peru a couple of years ago and did the old ayahuasca and
did you?
And the San Pedro, they call it. It's a relation of the peyote. And I have to say, it was very, very interesting. It gives you that different perspective.
Yeah. Would you do it again?
Oh no, I'm interested in that sort of stuff, to be honest, and I'd like to try like the DMT, but without the not the ayahuasca format. Just like even if it was man-made, because they do a man-made one, and it's supposed to like shoot you off.
A lot of my friends, I've not done it. I don't feel the need to, but my friends who do it say it's fantastic. But I do DMT breathing with Wim Hof. He's got his own version.
I
haven't done it since I haven't done it for a while, probably since last summer. But oddly enough, one of my clients, a few weeks ago, and he said the same. He said that when he does feel this, he'll go and do that DMT breathing. Yeah. But I used to find that really helpful.
Yeah, I mean, with me, it's like I don't know. I'm just intrigued by it, and within myself, I don't I don't see it being a problem for me personally to investigate those things. Do you know what I mean?
But you can see how easy it is again, I mentioned to you earlier about something personal that happened to me and my friends on Monday. Quite appalling trolling we had over the fact we hypnotherapists, and they kept bringing up the hypnotherapy being a charlatan field, and that's why I think it's so important to keep it.
Yes.
Because the majority of people are, but there are like 30% of people out there who do love all the things that we've spoken about. And to me, that is where we find our true self, our true healing. And I've never done ayahuasca, I've never been called to do it. But my best friend in Brazil did it the other week, last year.
Oh, yeah.
And, as a result, he's a bit of a beer drinker, pie animal. When he'd come to town, all of us would stop and party. We'd lose our jobs because he would be like, we got a party. And he said when he did the ayahuasca, he realised that he doesn't need to be drinking any longer. He doesn't need to be doing these things, and as a result of not drinking, he builds houses in the Amazon.
Oh, wow. Wonderful.
And he builds pools. He's incredible. He does, he's incredible. But his journey started off by eating a tomato in Thailand. I can't remember now. We're both 53 now, going back to his early 20s. He meant to eat one seed of this tomato, and he hit the old tomato. So of course he was very ill, as you can imagine, mentally. But he used to tell us, where he'd be going with his life. He'd be building these houses that were self-sufficient.
Wow,
talked
beautiful.
About and do you know, like years ago, you rang me up and we've always kept in touch, and now we got a video call, and he'd be like, look at my house. So of course his roof is filled with coffee plants, so it gives it a natural source of shade. Plus it produces coffee. He's got banana trees, mango trees, and the monkeys come in his garden. He's got this beautiful pool, and I did a video of him this morning showing me swimming up and down the pool.
Perfect.
And now he builds all these cabins. But I think he valued them about 35,000 each, but building materials are going up in price. So his goal now is to provide as much housing as he can, and that's
beautiful.
What
I mean, what a beautiful journey that is,
All because he had too many seeds of a tomato, which expanded his mind, which showed him something else, So,
this is what I love about life, it's those moments that take you on a destination you never expected to go on.
But his invite is there. He said if anyone wants to do ayahuasca, he said he's got his own shaman there. He said we're all invited over there to go down. So maybe we should organise a little trip, Dave. Maybe.
Well, I went with my cousin. She lives in Australia, and we met up there and we did it together. And she had a bit of a much rougher time than me because I had an epiphany like about 30 years ago, and we know everything's energy, everything around us that's physical essentially is energy, but somehow, some way it forms this physical form. I had this epiphany many years ago, understanding that seemed to be on a very deep level, and I was like obsessed about it. Everyone was getting sick of me talking about it. In fact, they thought I was mad. And then films like the Secret come out and stuff like that, which sort of didn't really cover that, but sort of made a bit of sense. And they were all like, "Oh, all right." Anyway, this idea there of the illusion, if you like. So what we see is only one part of the truth, and it affected my whole life. So everything that was coming through my senses, there was a part of me that knew that it wasn't quite what I thought it was. Do you see what I mean? So when I had the ayahuasca, whereas my cousin was carted out on a drip, right, because she was freaking out, but she was letting go of a load of shit. Do you know what I mean? It was almost, I had this thing with the ayahuasca where it was like this idea of the illusion became so ingrained that all my shit from the past wasn't affecting me as much because that had affected it as well, if you see what I mean. It sounds a bit mad. I can't really explain it.
It's not mad, because when you do as much training as me and you do and others, every time we do something new, something else is coming out, every time we do. Because I see you doing the IEMT, I thought that was very powerful when I trained in that. It just, something else shifted to me, more realizations, because when you're a practicing therapist, you're not really focusing on yourself. You're working with so many people, you're giving so much of your time away. And only when you start and sit, you went, oh wow, I had a belief coding session before Christmas, and I thought it was going to be one thing, and something else completely out of the blue, and I was like, oh wow, okay, well that makes sense, but I didn't expect it, because we don't put that focus on ourselves. as therapists, we're always giving out to other people. So it's little wonder when you did do your ayahuasca that it wasn't as it didn't seem so overwhelming for you, because you've been doing it over the years, you've been clearing bit by bit. So
Again, I actually truly believe the concept of the illusion has like ripped into lots of shit in my life, if you see what I mean. I don't know, going back to Hypno-flex.
Okay.
How many therapists do you know about there that are sort of combining it with other things?
There is a lady in my group. I run the UK Women in Hypnosis, myself and Kerry does. Kerry Potts. There's a lady in there called Marie Delph, and she's incredible. She's actually got a logo with the brain with the foot coming out. Oh wow! And so this is I created it. I mean, it's something that I've like my Reiki Master Teacher does Reiki. She does Reiki with hypnosis. So Marie actually does it full time, is what she does, and she has some great results with it. So I know of her doing it. I don't know of anyone else doing it at all. I can imagine there is, but not that I personally know. And I'm lucky enough to be in touch with quite a few a lot of therapists around the world. We've got the big American group, we've got my group here in the UK, there's others I belong to, we've got the collaboration group we meet up on a Tuesday, which is therapists across the world, and I don't know really of any apart from Marie and myself that does it.
So forgive me if I've got this wrong, as you did talk about it earlier on. So memory is going to be serving me good. These trainings you're going to be doing, they're going to be focused on this?
Not yet, because we've got to put it together and get a form of accreditation first and foremost. So first of all, I will be training reflexology.
Right. Okay.
Then the more advanced spinal reflexology, looking at fertility, because it's something that's a niche quite a lot of years ago. Fertility and maternity reflexology. Those are the 4 reflex I'll be covering. But then looking at what I found, Dave, and you may agree with this, is the lack of personal development that a lot of, not just therapists, a lot of people have in their field. And what we're looking at doing is putting together a personal development, like an emotional intelligence course together for therapists. So when they are in the midst of that trauma release, if it does come up, they've got the tools to be able to deal with it.
Absolutely. You're like me, because I've done so many courses. And you got to, the more courses you do, the more you got to keep on top of it, because if you don't use it, you bloody lose it. And honestly, I'm forever going back to stuff I've done. I must go over that again, because I haven't used that for like 3 months.
Do you know something I've just finished training in Christmas time was menopause, right?
Yeah.
And the guy I've been studying with is a guy called Phil Richards. He's kind of top. He used to coach world athletes. That's what he does. I've got to keep going back. I missed something. I didn't hear that the first time around. I must have done it about 10 times already, and I keep missing stuff. We need to keep going back, because we always absorb what's relevant to what we're looking for at the time, But it's like going into a sweet shop, and Dave, once you realize that energy exists and the feelings that you get, it's like that, right, what can I grab next? Where am I going to go for next? And it's like an endless, it's like almost like an addiction on its own.
It is, and sometimes people get stick for it, because I've heard of other therapists saying about other therapists, that they're just course hoppers, and they don't actually work on any people, just go from course to course to course, which I understand that. It's a fair point, but I think, like you said, it's so important as a therapist to have a really nice tool bag of modalities, because as you well know, some of them just don't work. They're just not having the right effect, or you're not getting what you expected to get, or the client isn't sort of showing improvement with it. So it's always good to be able to go in there and give something else a go.
I think variety is a spice of life as well. And we'd be kidding ourselves to think that one therapy is going to suit all. It doesn't. People have very different learning styles. They're visual, they're kinesthetic, they're audio. They learn in very different ways, and we have to. Like, I love using Kinetic Shift for children because it's fun, and it's just.
That, you see, at the moment, right? I've just signed up for Mindscaping with.
It's fab. I haven't done it, but I've had it done to me.
I've got the course anyway. I started looking at it. Kinetic Shift. I've gone through it once. I've got to go through it again. I mean, I use it for everything. I use it for
pain. I use it for a lot. I used to use, not so much now, but I used to use a lot of it for pain management.
Yeah.
He was really good at that. My sister was left after a cancer journey with pancreatitis, which is a horrible, painful thing to suffer from. And when her flare-ups come, they become really, really intense and really bad. And this one day we started, and I went in with the Kinetic Shift.
Yeah, wind it on out.
And she was like that. And there's a joke in the Kinetic Shift group. There's like an owl picture like that, and it goes, WTF, because it's like, what have you just done to me? Oddly enough, when my dad passed away, my sister was suffering from lung cancer, and she was on these flare-ups. The first 6 months I couldn't grieve for Dad because she was so ill all the time. And so there's a Kinetic Shift trainer that gave me a call and said, can I come down and try this with you? And I think when you've lost someone that's very dear to you, the thought of releasing it makes you think you're releasing them. You're not. You're releasing some of the pain that's been attached to it. And she did. And as I'm sitting here, my therapy chairs used to be in the window just there. And I remember her pulling this stuff out. And I was like, I don't think I was hugging her and kissing her because I felt so great. That's just amazing. What have you just done to me? Oh my God. I need to go now training this. And I went up to Newport where they were running a course, and I went and trained in it. Invited all my friends, you've got to come and see this. It's amazing, you know. Yeah. And Carl runs a group, and every so often he's very generous. He gives lots of free training. He's always there.
He's very generous on his YouTube channel. So I used to watch him every night religiously because I haven't got a telly. I got rid of the telly about 3 years ago, so I'm always doing other stuff, and I used to listen to him every night.
Yeah,
loved it. Became a regular.
It's just such a fascinating subject, and I think had I not read that question wrong, on my independent research, I would have done as many therapies. I would have understood how the psyche can release through the feet. The trauma, and I would have perhaps gone, I got curious about it. I wonder if I do this, and I do find that the people who are skeptical about hypnosis and a little bit fearful about going into it for whatever reason, even though they've had the pre-talk, will find that, so you're going to do my feet first. Oh yeah, that's great, you know. We'll do that then, you know. So it's because it's just such a lovely thing to do and to receive. And I don't know if you've had reflexology, Dave. Have you received it?
I had it. I'm going to have it on Sunday because there's a lady that does it.
Let me know.
After talking to you, I will. No, she's good.
I'm sure she will. I mean, I don't think I've ever met in all my life, right? I have never one person go off my couch and go, that was crap, that I'm never coming back here. You know, literally putting your hands. Honestly, it's fantastic. You'll enjoy it.
Yeah, I will do. I'm looking forward to it. Definitely. I might even get the face massage as well.
Yeah, it's lovely. It's just everything. I mean, when I did it, we did massage. We did it to a level 5 standard clinical massage, sports massage, aromatherapy massage, myofascial release. I've done so many different levels of massage as well because we had to for the gym. We had to do it. Yeah. So it's just all of them have their own benefits, you know.
Have you got like you must have like a good recall.
A good what?
To do so many things, and to be able to. I know you can't remember all that, you know, every detail of the stuff you've trained in, but to be able to retain so much information. Have you got like photographic memory or something?
Do you know what? I think my memory's gone awful since I've been menopausal since where are we at now? For about 18 months, and I find I could be in the middle of talking to someone, and then my mind will go blank, and I'll forget what I was even talking about. You know, so I would say no, I haven't. But when I speak to my friends, they go, "Oh my God, your knowledge is amazing." But to me, I feel like not remembering all. When I do my courses, I have to go over and over. With the emotional intelligence course last week, I had to keep going over a certain module to kind of grasp it.
Yeah, that's what I'm like.
Right.
I have to get A4 bit of paper, and I literally have to write the whole frigging course out. I write it out about 4 times.
And they'll say to you, put the pen down because we've got if you've got the courses on Q audio reader. And I'm like, I like to read. And they say, once you're writing, your connection with the brain, it stays. And then some people will go, no, just go back later, just listen to what I'm saying. But I like my buzzwords, you know. So yeah,
I definitely have to write everything down. I've discovered that much anyway. I've even got some nootropics to help with that.
What have you got?
Nootropics, you know, like sort of like memory enhancing natural
have you?
tablets. Yeah.
Mike Mandel does a brilliant hypnotherapy recorded on memory. I just keep forgetting to listen to it.
Who's that? Is that Mike Mandel?
Mike Mandel, yeah, I've got one on my Kajabi with him, and I thought it's about memory, and I thought I just keep forgetting to listen to it.
Oh bloody! I'll have to check that out.
You'll enjoy Mindscaping with Mike. He's a fantastic teacher.
Yeah. It looks really good. It's and I'm also doing a core transformation as well.
Andrea
Yeah.
I can't say her last name.
Andreas.
Oh, you're doing it with Barry. Who are you doing? Barry Neal or?
No. I am not actually. I've got the book. Yeah. Because there's so much, I will do the course, but you get a lot of information out of the book. And if you like, you can use it, Anyway,
I to be honest, when I did EDMR, the first time I did it was back in 2020 with Mark Johnson put this course on, because that's when COVID first came out in the March time. We set together a group to work with the nurses that were locked in the hospital, so we were going to be there as the support. So Mark got us all online. There was a chosen 10, and we got on and did it online. And we went to go to see him to get the diploma done. And then I did one online, and I found one on one of those cheap training sites, and I've got to say, this doctor was absolutely outstanding, right? And the certificate come from his academy, not them. And I got more out of that because it led off to watching a lady called Dr. Jamie Mayrock. If you ever got a chance to watch her work, and she is like watching silk. She's amazing. And then I read the book. What was her name? The lady who come up with it. Oh my God, how can I forget? Francine Shapiro.
Of course.
I read her book back to back, cover to cover. I mean, back and forth. It took me a good 6 months to work through it, to go back through it. Look at every single case study, pick holes in the case studies. How could that not work? Right, what's the scientific kind of explanation behind this search? I found one that made sense to me. Very much in line with what we learn in BWRT. Yeah, okay. And it made a lot of sense to me. And it was like, no, I get it. So when I work with it now, then I went to do the course then in person with John Dewar, which was really enjoyable, looking at putting hypnosis in it and looking at the different ways that John will put EDMR. Now I've got very much my own style myself, but IEMT are kind of, even though I do the movements, which are very much NLP anyway, I find I do my own thing with that to work towards my own results. And do you know, oddly enough, Dave, I had a beautiful call this morning of a lady. She's put this on my Google today, actually, so she's not hidden it. She didn't see the point in wanting to be here any longer. When she called me up, it was before Christmas, she was just crying. I had this lady crying on the phone, as you know, and I just let her cry and let her talk when she was ready to talk. And we've just had 3 sessions. Through my menopause coaching, I was able to identify she was on the wrong HRT. She didn't have the right advice of a doctor. We got through all that together. And I had this phone call off this morning to say, do you know what, Jack? She said, I lost my first stone in weight. I'm back up and I'm out there and I'm back to work, and life is just wonderful, And it's like, do you know, when you get those calls, it's just...
It makes it all worthwhile, Jacquelyn, doesn't it? It really does. I did a demonstration in front of 80 people with IEMT. Lady came up. I said, you don't have to tell me what it was, but she didn't. And it was about 6 minutes. It was a particular memory. I didn't even know what the memory was. And then she went off the stage. She went down to a 2 or something.
Yeah.
She went off the stage. Anyway, about 3 weeks later, I bumped into a lady who knew her, who was also there. And she said, oh, do you know that lady you had on the stage? You've changed her life. And then when someone says that, I was like, really?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
It is lovely. And do you know what? It's been so nice chatting to you about this tonight, Dave, because when I talked about those trials, myself and my other therapist, when I had experience on Monday, it was hideous, absolutely hideous, but in particularly against people like us who are charlatans, who are dangerous, who are not CBT trained and all this, and really going to town on us, and when we should meet up more, because when you're a lonely therapist, a soul therapist, it's quite lonely, isn't it? When we've got a group of us together, it's so what's the word I'm looking for? Inspiring, I suppose, is the word I'm looking for. Inspiring to hear your stories, mine, and to know that we do make a difference. And it's like that starfish story, isn't it? The starfish story. When the young boys Yeah, when he's walking down the beach and he's throwing the starfish, and the man goes, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm saving the starfish." He said, "Well, there's millions of them. How are you going to possibly make a difference?" And he picks it up, throws it at the sea, and goes, "They made a difference to that one, didn't they?"
Yeah.
So it's always like poke de poke, as we say in Spanish, little by little, and we do make a difference.
Absolutely, and it's a great thing, you know, helping people. It's fantastic, and when you do all these courses, you're helping yourself as well, because you have to
100%.
you know, we have to experience it all and work on loads of stuff. So like me and you should be like you know, well balanced by now. All these different techniques that have been done on it.
When we were getting that trawling through the other day, talk about your lessons coming up, because this lady was calling me a deranged, narcissistic, gaslighting psychopath that really was a transgender. I really was a man. Lots of different things. And I remember I was just sitting there laughing at her. Well, I think in another life I might have gone,
this is the beautiful thing. I remember an acupuncturist friend of mine called Andy Baggett. He was into his Celtic stuff and all that, and it must have been like 1996 or something. I was around his house. I think we were smoking some marijuana at the time, if I remember rightly. But anyway, he said to me, "Dave, no one can ever upset you." And I was like, "What are you on about? Of course they can, you know, like you do, because people do upset us." And he said, "They can't. It's impossible. Only you can upset yourself, you know." And I always remembered that. I always remembered it, because it is true. Sometimes you can't help it. You know, someone just annoys you and you react, you know.
I think it depends how much they mean to you. If that person is part of your life, you love and respect them, and they say something that can hurt a bit. But I think for me, those days are long gone, you know. And it's like you see bullying and trolling online, and it's just when they personally attack you, it says more about them than what it does about
absolutely. I tend to just feel a bit sorry for them, really, and think, they need to take, they need my number. Do some work or somebody else work.
I know, but no, it's true. It is true, though, you know. So I think we detoured off Hypno-flex today and what it was all about. But it's been really interesting to just hear the different modalities that are out there. And when you are like a therapist, like I said, my degree was Ayurveda based, and we look at personality types. And my personality type was very much someone who likes to change things. I like it bored easy, and I like to move on and change things, but then bring it back and get creative. And I think one of the best trainers I've ever worked with is Beryl Kuma. And at the end of her course, she did say, "Now you all go off out there, do what you got to do, and if you make any changes, come back and teach me." There was no ego in her training. Whereas no, this is the way it's done. We have to do it.
Yeah. And I love Beryl's way. Definitely, that's the best way, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
So you have to forgive me if I've digressed us away from more information on the Hypno-flex.
It's my fault though, because it's like going into that sweet shop. Right, the lemon sherbets are over there, Dave. Let's have some. No, hang on, the strawberry bonbons. Let's go. Oh, you see those toffee crunches? Let's go there. So no, it is exciting what we do, and we're so lucky to have so many different modalities. And part of this gang of Charles, again going back to Monday, we're talking very much rigid counsel and CBT, which is all very well. It's got its place.
It's got its
place. I have friends who love it, who've gone and had great benefit from it, but not everybody likes that talking. And for me, things are energy blocks. I know lots of people might not agree with me. This is what I've seen personally over the last 14 years. Shift that, and we get great results.
Absolutely.
And as quick as 3 sessions as well.
Absolutely.
Just 6 minutes with what you said the other day, but say, how can it be? And it's like, because once that's gone, once it's been released, and just, you know, before we go, because I don't know how much we do for time, if your lights fuse in your house, right? You don't get the electrician to come around and go, "Do you know what's going on with your lights, Dave?" No, actually tell me. And he tells you what's going on, and then he spends 6 weeks telling you exactly how your house is like that. Oh, for God's sake, just put the lights. I just want them to be working again, you know. And
which is like talking therapy.
Yeah, it's and you spend all this time talking about it. Okay, now we understand the what's gone wrong.
Yeah.
Should we just talk about how we're going to put it right? So I think a lot of people in mainstream westernized therapies will go, what, why am I like this? You're trying to analyze yourself with like 5% of who you really are. Not looking at, okay, let the subconscious, let the unconscious do the work. Let that energy release. Let's find it. Let's release it. And let's work out how. Doesn't matter why it's there, or that is important.
Absolutely.
The what. How are we going to fix this? instead of people will spend years and years and years working out the why with a part of their mind that doesn't have the answers for them anyway.
Exactly.
You know,
we've got one person here, which is I'm not sure, Jane Pickett. Jacquelyn,
oh, hello, Jane.
On my poorly dog diagnosed their pain areas, which my vet verified exactly the next day. Jack is a very kind, warm, caring, brilliantly intelligent, gifted soul. I have to agree with you.
Oh, thank you, Jane.
I'll
send you the tenner later, babe. Thanks for that. No, do you know, oddly enough, with Jane, Jane is someone I met very thankfully about maybe 2 years ago now. Jane wasn't there, and I'll always be first to send a Reiki. But you know, one day I come home from work and there was this beautiful interflora, big bouquet, and I mean massive bouquet, leaning against my door. And I was like, oh, somebody loves me after all. But no, and Jane, it was Jane to say thank you. It was from a dog. It was
someone loves me after all besides myself. That's what I say. I love myself.
The flowers were left, they were absolutely beautiful. So thank you so much for that, Jane. Thank you. Oh, bless her.
Bless her.
That's made me go red now. That's made me blush.
Hey. But before we go, people that are watching this, the idea of this channel is to get people on like Jacquelyn, who can talk about what she does and educate the public on what's available out there in the way of alternative therapies, because there's so much stuff out there, and it's amazing. And if you are watching this on record or watching it now and you'd like to subscribe to the Free the Mind UK Chat with the Therapist channel, you can do that. It'd be much appreciated, because apparently YouTube likes that and you get more videos shown. I don't know.
You can put the bell up. Yeah, I've shared it in my women's hypnotherapy group as well. I've also shared it in my therapy centre group I work from. So I've asked if anyone else want to come forward and talk about what they do for a living as well.
No, that'd be amazing.
It is great. Waiting lists are extensive. They're 2.5 to 4 years here in Wales. Suicide rates, sadly, have gone up. Particularly men, 4 times as higher in men in Wales than they are in women. And there's no need to suffer in silence. If you can afford to live a little bit, because it doesn't break the bank to invest in yourself, I would say go out there. And if I haven't got the answer for you, then I will have somebody who will have the answer for you, because we are lucky to be surrounded, aren't we, with so many amazing people. So yeah,
absolutely. And it'd be lovely to have you on again at some point, Jacquelyn. Definitely.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dave. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in and watching tonight. I'm sure you've enjoyed it. I certainly have. It's been amazing. Thank you very much, everybody. We're off. We're going. See you all next week. Bye.
Bye. Bye.